early this evening is two reasons. Well, three. One, Pistons are playing the playoff. Pistons are playing at home tonight in their first home playoff game since 2019, as they take on Game 3 against the Knicks. Two, the Lions draft is tonight, and so there's, as much as the Tigers are being first place is a story. It's not like we're disputing that or anything. Football is king of this town. And three, I have softball at 8:30. So, thus the Lansing Lugnuts cap and the cash considerations. So yeah, that's why we were going earlier than normal tonight. So welcome to another episode of the Motor City Metrics podcast here at TigersMLReports.com. I'm Rogelio Castillo. Sammy is Uper, and Chris should be along with us shortly. No Mike this evening, as he had a prior commitment, so he'll be back with us next week. And the theme, so it's going to be a quick show. So if you like the quick show format, which, I mean, I think that, like, if you look at good shows, like great shows like Lockdown Tigers, Scott does a good job of doing 30 to 40 minutes. We tend to talk a lot. So this will be kind of the segments are still going to be there. We're going to have our inside numbers and all that, but we're just going to try to breeze things through a little quicker because it is important to discuss the fact that Tigers took 2 out of 3 from a very good, although injured, San Diego Padres team.
Got to beat them when you can.
Yeah. Doesn't matter when you face them, but that's still a very good team. That's still a very good bullpen, and the Tigers got to the bullpen, so it was a good series overall. Reese Olson pitched almost a Maddox-like game, but he was just very efficient, and the 6-0 victory. I think that was the loudest victory in all season.
A lot to talk about in that one, and part of the good, bad, and the ugly for me will be a lot of that game. But the big thing with Olsen was, man, he was just jumping in front of everybody. He was dominating strike one, and always pitching from ahead. And that's certainly a nice way to live as a pitcher.
Yeah. And especially too, when the Tigers bullpen heading into the series was taxed a little bit. I mean, as far as just getting a lot of work in early on, and that gave the opportunity, the last couple of starts the Tigers had from their starting pitching, which is now the best in the league. Sorry, Rex Edler, I'm still a little miffed by that comment. I did what I had to do. I mean, at the same time, even in the loss against the 2-0 loss on Tuesday, Jack Flaherty was cooking with some gas, but it was really, I think, the ability for the Tigers to go out there and mix and match their bullpen a little bit, even with the debut of Chase Lee, they're showing their depth. And Andrew, I hope you're right. Andrew says that Penn hopefully got him some steak and lobster.
Yeah.
Dropping it. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Definitely deserved it after that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me, hold on, I got to send Chris the link here real quick. No, it's one of those things where another takeaway I had from just outside of the dominant pitching is Dirt Dingler. Wow.
Dirk Diggler.
Woo.
He really should get a nickname based around Dirk Diggler. There's no doubt.
Yeah. Something that he can use that's appropriate.
Something his mom wouldn't be mad about.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So no, but somebody wants to know on already pre-draft baseball talk. Yes, yeah, exactly. Jeff, I recognize that the Lions are playing the Pistons. There's a lot going on, and so Chris and I, and plus I have softball this evening. But it was a matter of like, okay, we're going to go on at 9:00, and nobody's. I mean, no offense. I mean, we have a dedicated audience and everything, but I'm realistic. Chris is realistic. Lions drafting, Pistons are playing. A lot going on tonight in the Motor City.
Yeah, and no Tigers game to talk about or wait to end, so we might as well go when we can go.
Yeah, sure. Exactly. Get a nice little talking, and but we were just talking about the series a little bit, and Dingler just kind of, again, continuing to hit very well. Malloy got out of his slump. He was, I think, like 2 for 19 heading into that, and he definitely needed that. But a couple of key takeaways from the series, the Reese Olson just being the matter of model efficiency too. Didn't really have to use his fastball either that much.
And that's always good when he doesn't have to, because he's gotten much better with that pitch, particularly with his location and stuff. But it's it's never going to be his best pitch. So if he doesn't have to use it, that's great. And I think we're going to see probably a similar evolution with Jackson Jobe as time goes along, because his fastball, despite being even harder than Reese Olson's, just doesn't miss bats for whatever reason. It may one day, once he learns how to, really tie hitters into knots mentally. But yeah, you see some similar things with Olson and Jobe is a lot of weak contact when when their pitches are moving right. And if they stay out of the middle of the zone, you're getting weak contact, quick outs, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, and another thing too that I really found interesting too, and let's go back to Jobe's start too. Jobe, who started, I believe was it Saturday or Sunday? I'm trying to remember if it was. I think it was Sunday. I want to say no, it wasn't Sunday.
It would have been Saturday, right? Because
Yes.
Scooble was Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh no, Mize was Saturday, right? No, yeah, Mize was Saturday. Mize was Saturday. Jobe was Friday. So Friday,
Okay.
going back to the opening game against the Royals, that was really just a prime example, just attacking, but he did a really good job of just generating some swings and misses, and that's the first start where we see him kind of settled in a little bit too. And the Royals offense, again, we talked about this a little bit, I believe on Monday a little bit, Chris, but the Royals offense is not the same offense we expected it to be at all.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to be scared of there outside of Bobby Witt Jr.
Especially when Pasquantino kind of slumping, tough.
Yeah, I mean, there are times where he looks like a pretty solid second banana, but right now the second banana has split. There's nobody. There's nobody there who can help. It's early. Yeah, it's. I don't know. That was a fun series because they pretty much. It was like the formula, right? They just kind of worked all the starters until they got, either got a couple runs off of them, got them out of the game. Torkelson hit that big 3-run homer. That was always fun to see. It's nice to have a Spencer Torkelson where when he's up with men on in a key situation, you feel pretty good about him coming through. Now, not everybody does that every time, of course, but it's nice to have that big power bat in the lineup that you got him and Carpenter. It helps a lot when Green is kind of scuffling.
Yeah, I mean, and Green again, series-wise, it was funny that there was some grief about he's starting against the lefty yesterday, and then turns out he goes 2 for 3 against lefties, and so that was a fitting way for the weekend or the start to take the series. And one of the things that is happening too, I mentioned this earlier, Chris, that the Tigers took advantage of the San Diego being injured a little bit, but now they come in and they have Baltimore coming in, who will be starting Brandon Young, who's making his second major league start, and Baltimore right now kind of underachieving for what they have in terms of offensive power. They're 9-14, and this is a team that also didn't barely spent on anything in the offseason to address their pitching that definitely needed it, and they didn't. Baltimore, in terms of pitching staff, starter-wise, is very thin. So Mize will be going on Friday. Saturday, it'll be Jobe against Charlie Morton, who is I don't know what happened to Charlie Morton.
Yeah, he's off to a terrible start.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Is he 41? How old is he?
How is Charlie Morton?
He's got to be 40 at least. Let's see.
Yeah, he's 41. Yeah, he's 41.
Yeah.
So
with the roster they have that they assembled and the depths that they seemingly have on paper, the idea that they couldn't have gone out and traded for a couple of arms to really balance themselves and get them ready for this season. Really, I mean, it's mind blowing, and I know they have the ownership and the front office has the reputation of not doing a lot, but I mean, come on, when's a better time?
Morton's off to an 0-5 start. Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
No, I say it. Obviously things can turn around, and it's still early, but it does feel like they really kind of fumbled this in Baltimore. Yeah, Grayson Rodriguez on the shelf for however long with his lat strain or whatever. He was kind of the young stud. Povich has been, I think, rough. And yeah, they all that talk. They had all these great prospects, and they went out and got Trevor Rogers, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like Mike Elias really is like the worst kind of smartest guy in the room. Like, hey, we'll figure it out. We can get by with the geriatric rotation. And it's just he's getting what he deserves right now. Now, it's baseball. We saw Tarek Skubal go out and the Tigers lose the Tarek Skubal start the other day. The Orioles are terrible right now, outside of Cedric Mullins, who's having like a Torkelson renaissance. They may come in and sweep the Tigers. Who knows? But you have to feel pretty good about this series heading into it.
Yeah, Dean Kramer and Tarek Skubal is the final game on Sunday. That's going to be a 1:40 start. Then Saturday's start, by the way, if you're planning on heading out of the ballpark, is a 1:10 start, and then tomorrow is a 6:40 start. I'm actually going to try to go to all 3 games this weekend to cover the team because I have not been able to, and now I have the ability to. So I'm going to see if I can go down
Tarek
there.
Skubal becoming the Sunday starter for this team.
Yeah,
I think
kind
kind of a pejorative back in the day.
Yeah, kind of like a college theme, like they have the Friday night starter, you have the Sunday starter.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the Tigers go, in terms of anything injury wise or anything like that, actually one thing I want to address before we go into inside numbers is Javi Baez's nice catch in center field. Now, that was a good catch, right? That wasn't like
It was a great catch.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why people on the internet were saying that wasn't that hard of a catch. Am I imagining that? Or
go ahead, try to do it yourself.
Yeah, especially in that center field.
He didn't take, as the crow flies, best possible route to it. Like, he went straight back and then had to curl a little bit to the right, but he ran 125 feet and caught it over his shoulder. Like, for a dude who's played,
7 games?
25, 30 innings in center field in his life. That was a good catch for anybody. And it was a great catch for a guy who hasn't played much center field. I don't know. There are people who don't want to give Javi Baez credit for anything, I guess, and whatever. I thought it was a great play, and it was. Was the game still relatively low? It was like 2-0 at the time, or was it?
I think it was 4-0, but still, you didn't want them to catch fire with a rally because
that's what it was more like. Hey, we might get a Maddox out of Olsen, and then he gave up that. That crush job there, and then he walked a guy, and it was like, all right, that's it for him. But still, that was a great catch, and I don't know. People can't celebrate good things.
Yeah, especially when it comes to Baez. I mean, Baez has played horribly. We're not it's like this narrative that, you guys are always stuck up. No, it's not like that at all. It's just credit where credit's due, and he's been contributing.
I like this too. I was one thing with Ryan Kreidler, right? And people wanted his head now for the last month, and that's fine. He certainly didn't earn his chance at staying. Okay, but people wanted to swap him out for whatever was at Toledo, which basically comes down to Baddoo, right? And Akil Baddoo, I mean, people were trying to run him out of town for the last 2 years or more. So how much better were you going to get by swapping out Kreidler for Baez? I really like the fact, and I was surprised that they brought up Young and put Baez out into the outfield. I think that was the way to go, and so far it's working out.
Yeah, it was kind of a clever bit of well, let's try this, and sure, we talked earlier in the year. It was like, are they going to put Torkelson in the outfield? And they tried it once, and then we haven't heard much of it since. And it's still, who knows, maybe one day when everybody's healthy. But I don't know. Yeah, it's. I don't know. We talked about when it first happened, where Hinch just really loves the fact that you can take somebody from shortstop and put him out in center field and not really worry about either position, or take somebody from center field and put him to shortstop. That gives you so much flexibility with what you want to do, particularly when it's Trey Sweeney is the other shortstop and he's left-handed, and you've got a nice little platoon there if you need it. Happy birthday to Trey Sweeney, by the way.
Right.
Nice.
What is he, 25, 26? I don't know.
The question that Mike Doyle asked here in the chat. By the way, we haven't gotten this in a while. If you feel like super chatting us, that money goes back to the website. Please do so. We have the super chat feature, and of course our Patreon and all that jazz. You can donate on PayPal as well. What to do with Parker Meadows when he gets back, trading for a third baseman? I think they just have to make a really difficult decision. I mean, it really. Somebody has to go down. I think we're not going to see a trade till closer to the trade deadline. I think that's just going to be the case. I mean, I could be wrong, and the Tigers might have somebody in mind already, but the way development's been right now as it stands, I mean, there's a possibility too. All depends on one thing, whether or not they take back Gage Workman, who was just released or DFA by the Cubs. Mm-hmm. And so if he clears waivers, the Tigers can get a chance to get him back at $50,000. And then he would probably go to Toledo. He doesn't have to be on the roster. Let me say that again. He does not have to be on the roster. He'll be sent back to Toledo, and Toledo could use all the offensive help they can get right now. It would have a chance to reunite him with Gabe Alvarez, who was his manager for 3 seasons down in Erie. So a guy he's familiar with, and Workman does play good defense, but we'll see what happens there.
They probably won't, but they could still work out a trade with the Cubs too, right?
Yeah. It wouldn't shock me if they do, because Workman, for all his tools and his versatility, is not really a Scott Harris type of player, right? Like, he's always been a guy who he can't hit very well. He's always going to swing and miss a lot, and he's done whatever he can to improve that, but he's still, like, his best year was a 27% strikeout rate in Double-A. You extrapolate that to 35-40% in the big leagues easily. So it wouldn't shock me if they just work something out, like, hey, we want somebody else. But it also wouldn't shock me if they take him back just because, yeah, you can put him all over the field and he's got a little pop and whatever. There's worse things to have in your system. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Maybe we have to do a hug watch for Cubs prospects.
There you go. Not a bad idea.
Yeah. No, but let's go. Let's start our segments here real quick. Let's go into Inside the Numbers. All right. So, Chris, what's your inside number?
All right. Well, you've heard these before because I told them, I didn't come on the show last Thursday. So I told Raj these when we were driving to the West Michigan Whitecaps game on Friday, but they're still relevant. So my inside the numbers are 6 inches, and 3.3. And that is, so here's the thing. Speaking of Javi Baez, he had the longest swing in baseball last year. I think it was tied with Giancarlo Stanton at 8.6 feet. Which is not surprised. Like, we've seen him swing. But his swing this year is down to 8 feet, down 6 inches in length. Normally not something people will be happy about, but he is, it's the biggest drop in all of baseball this year. Nobody has cut down their swing more. And similarly, that 3.3, that's how his average bat speed has dropped from 74.8 to 71.6. Now, you could be worried about that, but 71.6 is still fine average bat speed. It's not anywhere near the bottom. And what it shows to me is that he really has actively tried to cut down on his swing. And so if we see slightly better results this year, it's because he's done something. He's made an adjustment to try to hit the ball more, which is it's fun. It's something to keep an eye on as the season goes along. Now that the drop in bat speed might just be early season noise. Some of the other people, the leaders in bat speed dropping are Juan Soto, Mookie Betts, and Willie Adames. I don't think they're all... It might just be cold out there, but we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. So I thought it was kind of interesting.
That's a good one. Uper, what's your inside number?
My numbers this week are 90.4 and 0.194. Okay. Those numbers belong to Mr. Casey Mize. Now, we've talked about Casey Mize numerous times over the years, what we think we need to see from him. And, we don't have to go through all of that. He's off to a great start. 2.22 ERA. Has looked really solid. Personally, I think that his fastball looks livelier in the upper part of the strike zone than it ever has before. Lots of good things. But if there's one of the 5 starters that I'm most worried about continuing this, I might pick him, okay? The 90.4 is a stat I've always looked at. That's the left on base percentage, okay? That is exceptionally high. That tends to be not about clutch pitching with men on base. It tends to be about sequencing. And a lot of times your left on base percentage for most people is in the low 70s, upper 60s. 90% is pretty untenable. There's no way that's going to happen. Okay. So we're just going to have to see as that gradually comes down, what that does to his results. I'm a little bit worried about that. And to couple with that, the 194 is his BABIP. Okay. Some people swear by BABIP, batting average of balls in play. Other people think it's meaningless. There's a lot of noise. But 194 also exceptionally low.
Yeah.
Okay. And most of the time in his career, he's been around 330. Okay. Mm-hmm. So a lot of balls in play are finding gloves right now, which is fantastic, and we hope it continues. But at some point, you got to think those numbers level out too. And that's okay. I mean, it's probably unlikely that Casey Mize is a 2.2 ERA guy in the long run. Okay, if it just brings him back up to like a 3.4, you still got a hell of a good pitcher there. But I just think that people are making a lot of about um, the Tiger rotation and the numbers they're flashing right now, and they're pretty gaudy. But obviously, they're probably not all going to stay there. And I'm keeping my eyes on Casey Mize.
Yeah, especially because people want to recreate the 2014 picture of all the guys just standing there like that, and it's like it's middle of April,
I mean, you can look. I mean, that's what FIP is for, right? Is to kind of pull this stuff out. And his FIP is 4.01. If you line up the Tigers' FIPs, it looks exactly right. It's Skubal is like 2.9, Olsen is like 3.06, Flaherty is like 3.1, and then Mize is 4, and Job is like 4.3. Like that feels right. I will say, just looking at Casey Mize's expected batting average at Baseball Savant, which is of course based on exit velocity and launch angle and so forth, it's 184. So we'll see. But certainly, you can't count on a BABIP that low or strand rate that high. He got kind of lucky with stranding people in his one good year, and that was like 79%. So this is that's a good one.
No, it's good. Yeah, that is, especially because FIP, people don't think about FIP. It's always kind of, I think, the general public. I'm not saying that sounds snotty. I don't think people think of FIP as much as they should. There we go. That's a better way to phrase it. So my number is 13 and 1,000, and that is the number of losses the Rockies have losing streak on the road, which is one shy of the club record. And the 1,000 is German Marquez. He became the first pitcher in Rockies history to achieve 1,000 strikeouts. Which is, I mean, if you think about it, the Rockies have been around since 92, 93. Mm-hmm. And again, because of the climate, the mile high, what have you, they haven't had, notoriously, they haven't had a lot of pitchers. I mean, you think about the disastrous Mike Hampton contract, John Gray. This is not a team that's too far from removed from the postseason. They made it in 2017 and 2018. And this is the first pitcher. I mean, that's just it's astonishing, but it is. I mean, you think about the Marlins and the Marlins are the only other team that comes to mind in terms of recent expansion outside of Toronto and Seattle. It is really. Imagine going out there and going, yes, take 1,000 strikeouts. Then you just end up going to be losing anyway. And so, again, the Rockies don't trade anybody. It would be. I don't understand why he's not been traded. He was an All-Star. I think was he an All-Star a year or two ago, not too far from removed. So it's just interesting to see. I just feel bad for the guy. I really do. Like, he deserves a better situation.
Yeah. It's tough. I was thinking, like, who is the best Rocky starter ever? Is it Jeff Francis?
Wow.
How long did they have Ubaldo Jimenez?
I think they only had him for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he had a breakout year, and then they traded him to Cleveland, right?
Right.
Yeah. Let's see.
Boy, who else?
Yeah, I mean, as far as, like, I'm trying to think of, like, there's
All right, I can look.
in terms of, like, you talking about homegrown guys, or you talking about anybody who's just pitched their period?
I guess anybody who's pitched there, like, pitched there and stayed there. Marquez is probably,
Denny Nagel. Didn't Denny Nagel have a couple good years for them?
He went there.
Oh, that's a good call. I mean,
I'm looking. All right.
I'm trying to think of that 2017 that lost in the World Series that had Troy Nowinski on there, and I'm trying to remember who was on that rotation.
Ubaldo Jimenez is their leader in FWAR in 851 innings. Aaron Cook is third. Jorge De La Rosa.
That's
yeah.
Let's see. Look at the strikeout leaders. So you got Marquez. At 1,000. De La Rosa was 985. Jeff Francis 742. Cal Freeland.
He almost won 200 ball games with those guys.
200.
He almost won 200 games. He won 197 games. Or I'm sorry. No, oops. What am I talking about? Whoa.
He pitched at 197.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry. Woo! Wait a minute. That puts him. Sorry.
So De La Rosa has 86 wins.
2 games under 5. He has a WAR of 10.4 in Rockies uniform. Well, sorry about that, folks.
Now I'm curious about the Marlins.
All right, you know what? You look up the Marlins because I'm interested to see who would be.
Oh wow, the Marlins have one pitcher ever with over 1,000 strikeouts, and it's 1,001.
1,001.
What's
It's Josh Beckett.
No, Josh Beckett is only 607.
Oh,
Really? What is 1,000 strikeouts for the Marlins? And then would it be a guy who's dead?
I don't think he's dead. I believe he's.
Oh no,
still-
I was trying to think of
Yeah.
yeah,
Jose.
Jose. As far as like, oh wait a minute, is it Ricky Nolasco?
It is Ricky Nolasco.
Oh, that's right. Ricky Nolasco, who ended up being. Did he go to the Twins? Did he like assign to the big deal
he
with the
did.
Twins?
One of the Twins.
And then he missed injuries because of his injuries to his butt or something. Like he had some really weird butt injury. I don't know. All right, let's not speculate like that. Okay, with the Pistons game in full effect, let's go into our next segment. Let's go into the good, the bad, the ugly this week. All right, Uper, what is your good, the bad, the ugly this week?
Well, my good, I'm just going right with Reese Olson. We already talked about him a little bit, so we don't have to expand on it too much. But to me, best start of the year for any Tiger starter, really. I mean, he was just in front of everybody. He just made it look easy yesterday. If he can continue that, I don't know what to say. I mean, he could potentially be the number 2 right behind Skubal in that rotation, because I trust him. I like him more than I like Flaherty. I'm going to be completely honest there, but that's probably just me. But what I want to know about Reese Olson, I would love to have this had happened. Wouldn't it be great if during the year that he was traded, if they had been doing like a Hard Knocks type of thing in the Milwaukee front office, and we could have gotten to see whatever they were talking about to make Daniel Norris for Reese Olson happen. Whatever that conversation was, that would be fascinating as hell, to see what put them over the top on Daniel Norris for this guy. So we'll never see it, but it sure would be fun. My bad. Before yesterday, the Tigers had been on a streak from April 9th against the Yankees to Game 2 versus the Padres of the series, a 13-game stretch where they went 7-6, which is fine. There's nothing. 7-6 gets you to 87 wins if you keep doing that. So it's not terrible. But it sounds kind of mediocre, right? In that 13-game stretch, they had only 21 extra base hits, 6 home runs. They never had a game with more than 3 extra base hits. So I was really wondering where the power was going to come from this team. And to be honest, I still am. Yesterday, they broke out of it a little bit. They got 3 home runs, fantastic, and a double. So they got a grand total of 4 extra base hits. Also, Torkelson had one pulled back in, which was probably the most boring home run rob catch. Kind of stuck his
He's talking about the one in right field.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it really was.
it was. It was like,
The least exciting home run robbery ever. But it still was a good swing by Torque, by the way. I was pretty encouraged by that. But, the Tigers went through that stretch. It really shows how the pitching is carrying this ball club.
Yeah.
Because to go 7-6 with absolutely no power for 13 games from the lineup, pretty impressive. So hopefully the pitching continues, but really it's about getting the lineup back, producing some extra base hits. Riley Green and Colt Keith are 2 of the prime culprits there, where we need to start seeing some balls into the gap. The ugly, poor old Jock Peterson. He's gone through his life as a guy who has been a quote unquote professional hitter. Everybody kind of respects his game, and I'm sure they still do. But the poor dude just went through an 0 for 41. Okay, and that's pretty tough. Now, he did get a hit. Finally broke that against Mason Miller, a great pitcher. If you see it, though, it probably should have been caught. The center fielder kind of took a kind of an icky route and gave Peterson a break. So, but anyway, he was 0 for 41. He's 3 for 62 on the season. Even Riley Green looked at that and said, that's a hell of a slump. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
But it happens even to the best of them. I'm sure Jock will, get on a roll here and get some of his numbers back that he usually does. I don't think he's not old enough yet to be really done, I don't think.
Yeah. He's a big boy now.
Yeah, definitely a big
Oh, yeah.
boy. You know, it's yeah. There's I, as far as like the one thing that's also we usually forget the Tigers are tied with the Yankees, the best record in the American League, with a lack of like with all the injuries and power and everything. But it was Chris Castanelli who had a tweet that I really liked that makes a lot of sense. It's different than it felt like the last year where the run differential was only +3. Now it's like +31 or something like to that effect. So that
That's
makes
good
it
fun.
that makes it really stand out as far as like just from an offensive standpoint from the last couple of years too, where the Tigers really have gotten off the really slow starts, offensively speaking. Chris, what is your inside or what is your good, the bad, the ugly this week?
Yeah, just to say the run differential is +30, which is their best
Well, it's
through
off by one. All right,
25 games since 2006.
it's
Nice.
impressive. Yeah,
2006 was a good year.
Yeah,
yeah.
they had a +50 run differential that year. Yeah, my good is Jung Hoo Lee. Again, this is stuff I told you in the car, but whatever.
That's fine.
He's the grandson of the wind is his nickname because his dad was a famous player and they called him Son of the Wind. He kind of slipped below the radar last year because he signed a 6-year, $113 million deal with the Giants, but like all anybody cared about was Yamamoto's giant deal with the Dodgers. And then he wasn't very good, and then he got hurt. He only played 37 games, like 83 WRC plus, just kind of forgotten about. But he's been great this year. He already has more homers and steals than last year. He's batting 333. He's got a 170 WRC plus. He hit his Major League Baseball best 11th double today. He's at 1.5 WAR already through 25 games, the 7th best in baseball. Big part of the reason that the Giants have started 17-9. So, it's always tough with those West Coast players that we don't see very often. But he's off to a good start. I don't have a bad this week. I have a fast because this was I don't know, just kind of fun. It was going to be my inside the number, but I didn't. I ran out of time. But and we don't care for the Twins here, of course. But I want to talk about Luke Keeschel
Hmm.
of the Twins, who is an interesting prospect. We've talked about him before a little bit. I think you and I have at least. He was a second rounder a couple of years ago. Just tore up the minors last year, and then he had to have Tommy John surgery. They knew about it, so they scheduled it for his season to end basically early. He got the surgery, and then he was able to come back right away. The Twins called him up just the other day, and he's off to a super fast start in multiple ways. He's 7 for 19 with 3 doubles and 5 walks and 5 steals. And he is tied for second all time with 5 steals through his first 5 games. Only Billy Hamilton, the modern day version, had more in his first 5 career games. He had 7, but there are only like 6 or 7. I'm looking right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other players and Billy Hamilton, so 8 total who have stolen 5 bases in their first 5 career games.
Wow.
And some of the other ones are kind of the usual suspects. Vince Coleman, uh, Luis Castillo, the '90s version, Julio Barbone.
Cleo Barbone, man, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Tim Raines had 4 in his first 5 games. So yeah, it's just kind of funny. And he wasn't necessarily known as like this monster speed demon. He's just it's just a funny quirk about his start to his career. He is fast, but I don't think that fast. And my ugly is Ian Anderson, not the Jethro Tull guy. We're fans of rock flute here.
Sitting on a park bench.
But yeah, Ian Anderson, who was the 3rd overall pick in the 2016 draft, was a little bit of a surprise. He was kind of a high riser that year, or a fast riser. But I think that the Braves, saved a bunch of money so they could get more picks or spend more on guys later. But then he got to the majors in 2020 and was really good. He got finished 5th or 7th in Rookie of the Year voting that year and the next year because he qualified for both the years. He was that first year 6 starts in 2020, a 1.95 ERA, and it was a 2.54 FIP, so it wasn't like a mirage. It was only 6 starts, but the next year he was really good too. 3.58 ERA, 120 plus innings as a 23-year-old, pitched really well in the postseason as the Braves won the World Series. And then it fell apart the next year. His ERA was over 5, got sent to AAA. He didn't make the rotation in 2023, then got Tommy John surgery. He made it back to the minors kind of middle of last year. Didn't make the rotation. Then the Braves traded him to the Angels this spring. And the Angels used him as a reliever. He got into 7 games, allowed 17 hits, 7 walks, 12 earned runs in 9 innings, and the Angels just cut him. Mm-hmm. So, 26-year-old, just kind of a reminder of how quickly things can turn with pitchers in general. But like even when your high school pitchers seem to work out, it could just disappear like that out of nowhere. And so, not that I'm wishing that or saying that on anybody. I'm just saying a reminder that sometimes these things can go quickly.
By the way, it reminds me of Russ Ortiz. Remember him? He was with the Braves, and then he went to the Angels. And I remember the big thing about him was he had a book on every guy, and blah blah blah. So I don't know. It was sorry. Russ Ortiz was kind of a he bounced around. I mean, did he start with the Braves? Did he start with the Braves and then went to the Angels?
No, he started with the Giants. He had a great start to his career with the Giants.
That's what.
Then went to the Braves and then disappeared.
He made an all-star team, I think.
You know what? I'm thinking of another Ortiz that pitched the Angels in, right? The
Ramon Ortiz?
Yeah, Ramon. Yeah, more slender gentleman. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of. So while you look that up real quick, so my good, the bad, the ugly this week involves the good involves the Tigers farm system in two different ways. One, Brace Rainier, his first major league professional home run, his first professional home run opposite field, and he had another hit where he had over 100 miles an hour, and like he hit 2 hits today. And although the Marauders won, still it was just good to see him back on the field after missing some time with injuries. And then Owen Hall had a really good outing, but that's not the main good about this good and bad this week. No, so West Michigan and Erie are both in first place, and they're both the only teams in their respective. So West Michigan being in the Midwest League and Erie being in the Eastern League, they have over 100 runs scored. So West Michigan right now with a plus run differential of 47, and Erie at plus 51. That is really good, and considering that if you look at the Eastern Division, Eastern League as a whole, so the only other team that comes close to them in terms of run scoring is Akron with 91, and then the first place in the Northeast Division, Binghamton, has 67 runs scored. So in terms of run differential, though, no one comes close to Erie. They are plus 51, like I mentioned. The second closest team would be Akron at plus 27. So there you go. And then as far as the Midwest League right now, it's actually a little more. Lake County has 94 runs. Lansing has 90. But in terms of the second closest run differential, so I just said West Michigan plus 47. Second closest, Quad Cities at 18. And they're in second place in the division behind. They're tied with the Midwest League West Division with Cedar Rapids.
And that's without Kevin McGonigal.
Yeah, without Kevin. Yeah, thank you, Uper. Without Kevin McGonigal, we went out Friday to we saw him in West Michigan. We saw a very good performance from Brett Callahan, who went up the ladder, climbed up, and did a really good job of adjusting his hands. He's been on a roll. Jose Briseño is, and then Max Clark doing his thing. But it's also guys like Archie Brookman, guys you wouldn't think of as far as like prospect status goes. They have two really good, Chris, you were saying this yesterday, they have two good catchers.
Yeah, Bennett Lee hit a two-run homer the other day. Seth Stevenson has been playing really, really well. For a guy that's not necessarily a prospect, but can do a lot of things that help you as a team. So,
Abel Bastidas.
Bastidas has come up and he's basically just an org guy, but he's come up and played well. It's Andrew Jenkins, John Peck, Jack Penny. They just have a lot of quality hitters there. So
yeah,
they're going to score a lot of runs until they take away their good hitters.
Yeah, that could happen any given time soon. Actually, I don't know. Maybe next month. It just seems like promotions in terms of getting the Erie and Toledo have been hard to come by. My bad this week as far as like just trying to look at, there's been a lot of weird things going on, but it wouldn't be the regular season without somebody happening to the Dodgers rotation. The bad is for Blake Snell, who will be shut down, going under some more testing, and a lot of money. It's like watching the Joker in the Batman movie where he's burning all the money. You can already start seeing the piles of money being burned a little bit there. There is no in terms of there is no bad. Oh, that is bad. Matt Wood just mentioned that Jaden Ham's given up 4 earned runs in 2-1.
Yeah, they pulled him. He got through the first 2 innings pretty well, and then I think what we're seeing is that hitters can basically. He's just got the 2 pitches that are really good, and he needs to find something else. He has the other 2 pitches, but there were like 3 or 4 super long at bats. He was like an 8-pitch at bat when he gave up a homer, and then a 10-pitch walk. So guys are just kind of they know what to do.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and again, it's still really early in the season, so there's gonna be some time. But no, it's again the Dodgers are doing their thing. It's really deadly injuries. You're kind of right. There isn't really. I mean, the Pistons are in the playoffs right now. The Pistons are playing at home for the first time, and there's a lot of good things. But I got to be a nitpicky dick, and so that's what I'm gonna do. And so the other bad thing that really kind of bummed me out from earlier today was Tony Olivia, the Hall of Famer from the Twins, Cuban player, suffered a stroke. He's recovering from the hospital, so that was announced earlier today. So he is a guy who, as far as he's suffered a series of mini strokes over the last month or so. He was put in the Hall of Fame 2022 by the Golden Days Era Committee. A guy who really overcame a lot to came to this country and what have you. To you might hate the Twins or whatever, but I look. I mean, a guy who, for me, as a guy who came from Cuba, made something for himself. That's always going to stand out to me, regardless. I don't care if you're
hell of a hitter.
Yeah,
one of the best baseball cards I got in 1976. The first year I was collecting cards. I'll never forget that Tony Oliva card.
Very nice guy too.
My dad told me so many stories about him, and just basically the fact that all the numbers he put up, and if you look at them, they're pretty impressive. He did it with 2 terrible knees. If he had modern, and I'm sure there's a lot of guys like this, he's not the only one, but still, if he had modern healthcare taking care of his knees, what he would have been able to do, because the guy couldn't even move, and I actually sat near him in the Metrodome many times because he would sit right by the press box, and I would sit right underneath where John Lowe and Tom Gage were all the time. And I would see Tony Oliva and Juan Berenguer walk in together almost every night. The Twins are playing baseball.
Yeah, and he's been with cool. It is cool, and one of the cool things too is he married his wife, who was from South Dakota. Which, I mean, if you think about it, at that period of time, that's saying something. During that period of time, and so, but yeah, it just again, just a lot of respect for that. But that's just bad. That just sucks. And the only ugly I have really this week is it's allergy related. Allergies right now kicking my ass. That's it. Mm-hmm. I honestly it is a thing where this time of year it's just going outside is literally just a risk until you get all allergied up medication wise. But here's a good. Alan here says that he heard Tony said he admired Al Kaline so much that those knees gave out on him. It's. I think he was part of that Twins team that went to the World Series against the Dodgers. What was it, 64?
Yep, 64.
Yeah.
He was Rookie of the Year. Just looking, it was like a great 6 or 7 year stretch there before it kind of fell apart on him. I'm looking, led the league in hits 5 times and doubles 4 times and won the batting title 3 times from the Rookie of the Year. And that's just in, like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons, like an 8-season stretch where he was fully functional.
That's a pretty nice career.
Yeah, married to still married to his wife after 53 years. It's awesome. Mm-hmm. And so, but hopefully everything recovers well and what have you. And so, that's it for this week. I mean, unless you guys, there's anything else before we get out of here. There's the Pistons. Like I said, the Pistons are playing right now. If you're an NBA fan,
Jalen Brunson poked Tim Hardaway in the eye on purpose.
Somebody asked to really, it was Deadly Ninja Bees, who's the baseball equivalent of Jalen Brunson? So it's like a whiny.
I always felt like
asshole.
AJ Pierzynski was like that when, or Brett Gardner, Aaron Boone.
Aaron Boone's the worst.
I think Brett Gardner, as much as Brett Gardner's had a bad year with his son and everything.
I haven't even heard anything about that. Yeah. So sorry about that. Yeah. Aaron Boone, I know Yoop is a big fan of him, always yelling about the umps. So, and he's from New York. There you go.
Yeah.
Real quick, last week we didn't get to it either. How real do you guys? And again, he's put another week up, or he's been pretty decent. How real is Torkelson? What do you think? I mean, we're sitting here on July 1. What are we saying about Spencer Torkelson?
It feels pretty darn real to me. Like he hasn't had like an extended stretch of struggling. Like the strikeouts are a little bit high, but he's walking more than ever. He's hitting for average. He just seems to be putting together good plate appearances just about every time. It wouldn't shock me if he falls into some bad habits or whatever. And that's the one thing that I'm still waiting to see is if everybody adjusts to him, if he can come back out of that. But yeah, I mean, I still think it's entirely possible that he's going to have another 30 home run season. I don't think he's going to hit 50 or whatever, but I think he's real enough that he's going to stick for the whole season, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think he's, I think it looks legit. I mean, the ball is stinging harder. I mean, as Deadly Ninja said, even his outs look good. I really like what Alan said here, and I'm going to look into this more. And maybe we'll put something on the Patreon for this. He said, "Does anyone think the Tigers catchers throughout the system are throwing out runners better?" And I think there's something to be said about that. I mean, that's a very good observation, because if you think about, Chris and I have been watching a lot of Lakeland this week. Period. And Lakeland, between Delgado and Hurtado, Hurtado and Delgado.
Whenever I always want to start singing the stupid Beach Boys song, like Hurtado, Delgado.
Oh no!
Ooh, I want Briseño.
Yeah.
Lorenzo.
Where's Mike? Where's Mike? Mike from the.
Oh, yeah, Mike Govier or whatever.
Yeah, Mike Govier. Yeah, we'll have to ask Mike Govier to do that. So,
yeah.
But and you know what? Look at it. If you look at Tyrone Luzardo in Erie too, it's off to a good start too. So I know that's what we'll get into. Definitely working into. So, I saw a stat the other game a few days ago that Dingler throws the hardest outs of all the starters in MLB. He threw one at 88 miles an hour. I mean, it's just
crazy. So I'm looking. Based on expected weighted on base for Torkelson right now is 418, and his actual is 401. So he's actually underperforming what his contact has suggested so far.
Interesting.
So
yeah. Even yesterday when he goes 0 for 3, he drew a walk. He actually swung that ball 4 twice. He worked great counts. He just couldn't stay patient one extra beat longer. He almost had 3 walks yesterday, and then he also had one foul that he just absolutely ripped. And then he hit the one that got robbed for a homer in the most boring way possible. So I want, as someone who's always said I'm on Torkelson Island until I'm the last one, I want to believe it's real. It does look different to me. I just wonder, I'm going to be real interested to see if he has a 2 for 19, what he does next. Does he pop out of it, or does it become a 6 for 62, that kind of thing. If he can just weather some adversity and come back, that would really tell us a lot.
Yeah. No, here's to hoping that he never has that. He just crushes all year. Because I don't know, I had given up hope. He was a guy that I kind of infamously thought would top out at Rhys Hoskins. And then he was worse than that. And and now he may be better. So I don't know. Let's I'm crossing my fingers for right now, because he's exactly what the Tigers need.
It is fun to watch, and there's a lot of people giving you already a giving you a parade, Duper. I can't talk, but for everybody listening out in Waterford, thank you so much for listening this evening. A longtime friend of the show is listening online, and thank you. It's been a while, and so but just wanted to say thank you for everybody for listening. And we celebrated our 1,000th episode on Monday. That Chris and I have done a show together.
Yeah.
Some capacity.
I had absolutely no idea until you told me.
Yeah, well, what it was is I randomly, I've been having insomnia, so I don't sleep that much. And then one night I was like, I don't know. And I went through, and just so I went through, I had a notebook, and I just started going through all the shows, all the variations, give or take. And we just hit over 1,000 shows. So we've been doing this for 8 years. We did one show a week, 2 shows here and there, a lot of times. And we're doing a show quite a bit. So it's give or take. So
amazing.
It's pretty cool. So anyway, thanks so much for listening. Keep it classy, everybody. We'll be back on Monday for the Monday night recap for the minor leagues and the Tigers, as they will take on the Baltimore Orioles in a 3-game set. Thanks so much, and go Pistons tonight. And hopefully on Sunday, they play Sunday too, Game 4 against the Knicks, and hopefully they'll be up when they go back to New York. We'll talk to you then. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
When's your game?
in 8:30.